Welcome, everyone. I'm Alfred Lambremont Webre, and today we have the great privilege and pleasure to be with Venus historian Dr. Raymond Keller PhD, who will be bringing us an exclusive PowerPoint um, on the Venus contactees. And Ray, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Alfred. Let me bring this up here real quick. So we have share and okay. All right. Is that coming up?
Yes.
Oh, very good. Let me get that from the current slide. And we go. Okay. Well, following my Venus experiences in 2013 as a co-director with Michael Rich of the Coast to Coast AM radio discussion groups in Northeast Ohio, I put together two programs. My first venture into producing PowerPoints uh, called the Contactees, and the second one, The Wisdom of the Ages. So this is the first one called the um, the contactees. And I always put this little disclaimer every time I was going to present something. And here it says the following presentation employs artistic license in the exploration and expression of the impact of the UFO contactee phenomena on certain aspects of pop culture and religion. Some may find this material objectionable insofar as it challenges various tenets of long-established belief systems. Be advised that the opinions presented herein are solely those of Dr. Raymond A. Keller, me, myself, and I. So this program is presented solely for informational and entertainment value. Okay, the contactees, encounters with extraterrestrials. So although it was first presented to these local groups in Ohio in 2013, when I finished writing and publishing the first book, then I slightly revised and updated this presentation. So humankind's oldest dream is to answer the question, are we alone in the universe? The World Space Agencies search for life beyond Earth. But what if they don't have to look beyond their own backyard, for the flying saucers have landed? This is a scene from a television series that was on during 1967 and 68 on ABC TV called The Invaders, starring Roy Thinnes. Roy Thinnes as an architect, David Vincent, who comes upon the truth about flying saucers. But I thought it was a cool picture. That's why I put it in there. This is from Ray Bradbury's Martian Chronicles. In 1980, the acclaimed British science fiction author Ray Bradbury's Martian Chronicles was produced as a television miniseries. And what was really cool about that was, I don't know if I click this link, will they be able to watch it and hear it?
You mean the YouTube link?
Yes, that scene.
Um, I'm not sure because you right now have the YouTube. If you click the link, it'll open in a browser on your in a browser on your desktop, and then you would go out of this share screen and you would open up the share screen for that desktop, and then we would watch it. That's how it would work.
Oh, okay. Let me try that then and see what happens. Okay, is that coming up?
Well, we would have to go out. You would stop share on this uh, uh, PowerPoint, and then you would start share on the browser of that YouTube.
Oh, okay.
See the, yeah. So now
Hmm.
you would start share on the browser of that YouTube.
Oh, okay.
That's how typically it would work.
It it cut off my connection to playing that. But let me
Oh,
explain what's in the video. It There's a scene at the very beginning of the Martian Chronicles where in 1976 the space probe is landing on Mars, and it lands on one side of a crater, so it doesn't see anything but a lot of dust and dirt and everything. And then the camera pans over to the other side of the crater, and it said, but if it only landed um, 1.5 miles on the other side, they would have discovered, and then it shows them a Martian city. So
I
I thought,
see.
yeah, I thought it was just a really cool scene,
Oh,
and it just reminds me of the all the space probes that we send out in the solar system and um, how we're looking at planets that are massive in size.
right,
And of course, if it lands a space probe in one small part,
right.
um, it's not representative of anything more than if they landed a space probe in the middle of the Sahara Desert.
Exactly.
So it's just a really nice video. So I was able to show that video in conjunction with this, and it's a real short one.
Very good.
So we find the truth in the strangest places. Jack Nicholson expound on the role of Venusians walking among us in the 1969 cult classic Easy Rider, which was written by Peter Fonda. And in this scene, they're sitting around a campfire and they're talking about some of the things that George Adamski wrote in his books, his three books about the Venusian presence. And those three books are called Flying Saucers Have Landed Inside the Spaceships and Flying Saucers Farewell. And I just thought it was really apropos the way they did that. Here's a clipping about a gentleman named Albert Coe, who made friends with Venusians on a fishing trip up to Quebec in the 1920s. And he was able to help save the life of one Venusian that was also out there fishing and trapped on a ledge, and became good friends with the Venusians throughout his life, and made many trips to Venus and learned many of the things about Venus, like their origin on the planet Norca and the Tau Ceti system, and so forth. And he described and drew pictures of the scout craft, which paralleled and matched those later given by George Adamski. Albert Coe was his name, and I write about his story in my first book, Venus Rising: A Concise History of the Second Planet.
Oh,
Also, my friend Frank Chile in New Jersey was a good friend of Albert Coe, and Albert Coe lived over across the river in Philadelphia. Okay, so anytime I do a presentation, I always want to remind everybody that as cosmic citizens, that we abide by the following principles, that we're here to form the nucleus of a universal brotherhood of humankind without distinction of race, creed, sex, caste, or color. We're here to encourage the study of comparative religion, philosophy, history, and science. And we're here to investigate the unexplained laws of nature and the powers latent in humankind, no matter where it leads us, onward to knowledge and adventure. Okay. So this is my favorite quote. It was actually first made by Tennyson, but it was Robert Kennedy's favorite quote. And he said, "Some men see things as they are and ask why. I dream things that never were and ask why not." I think that's such a beautiful sentiment. And that seems to also be the philosophy of our brothers and sisters in outer space. So I was hoping by putting these two presentations together to spark an awareness and a knowledge of Venus that had been so long overlooked, to see how things are done over there, and to ask ourselves, well, why can't these things be here on our planet as well? So one of the first contactees of any notoriety was George Adamski of California. Here he's seen meeting with Orthon of Venus at Desert Center, California on the 20th of November, 1952. Contactees are persons who claim to have experienced contact with extraterrestrials. There you see a typical Venusian scout craft, an artist's conception. So George Adamski was born in 1891 in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and became an American citizen. He was brought over by his parents when he was just 3 years old. And he claimed to have photographed spaceships from other planets as early as the late 1940s. The first ones published in Fate magazine in 1948, and was the first of the so-called contactees in the 1950s to gain any recognition or prominence. He was called a philosopher, teacher, student, professor, and saucer researcher. These are some of the books that Adamski wrote: Cosmic Philosophy in 1961, the 3 books I mentioned before about the Venusians, The Pioneers of Space, A Trip to the Moon, Mars, and Venus, that he published in 1949, and The Wisdom of the Masters of the Far East in 1936. Now, he ran the Royal Order of Tibet, and at 578 Manzanitas Drive in Laguna Beach, California, and 2 weeks before Rob Potter passed on, we went there because it's only 2 doors from the house where he grew up, and we took some pictures of both of us, some selfies at the former headquarters of the Royal Order of Tibet. So Rob Potter had to be connected with the Venusians in some way, since he was born right next to George Adamski's old stomping grounds. Okay, so why did I put Eve of Destruction or New Millennium? Because in the late 1940s through the beginning of the 60s, we've not only began to develop atomic and nuclear weapons, but the rocketry and the delivery systems necessary to deploy them. So contactees have typically reported that they were given messages of profound wisdom by extraterrestrial beings. The primary message is that unless the spiritual maturity of the human race can catch up with our technological advances, then we are headed for total annihilation. And this was a YouTube that I put there. It's um, Eve of Destruction, a song from the 60s. So contactee messages have permeated pop culture as well. The German activist and vocalist Nina warns of the dangers of nuclear confrontation inadvertently sparked in the Cold War during the Reagan administration. Her 99 Luftballons was the biggest hit in the 1984 pop charts. So here it was 99 red balloons, but in German it's 99 neun Luftballons. Ballons. Many contactees have communed with extraterrestrials since their youth. Here we see Howard Menger in his later years before his passing in 2009. Howard's first of many encounters with friendly ETs began outside his home in Highbridge, New Jersey, at the age of 10 in 1932, along with his younger brother Alan. So you see the 500-year-old Venusian sitting on the rock in the backyard of their farmhouse in Highbridge, New Jersey. Then contactees is a cultural phenomenon. With the start of the Cold War in the late 1940s and the intensification of reported UFO sightings worldwide, it was inevitable that some would begin to come forward with claims of contact with the pilots of alien spacecraft. The contactees attained some degree of prominence throughout the 1950s, hitting the lecture circuit, writing books, organizing clubs, and taking to the airwaves, radio and television. For radio, the most prominent was Party Line broadcast covering 25 states by Long John Nebel from WOR New York, 710 on the AM dial. So-called spacecraft conventions were also organized, providing yet an additional platform for the dissemination of the space people's important messages for all the people of Earth. The most prominent of the spacecraft conventions took place every year up until from 1954 through 1978, organized by George Van Tassel at Landers Field, about 17 miles northeast of Yucca Valley in California. And that's also where Van Tassel later built a device called the Integratron, which is still standing. And you could visit it, and I think they give sound baths in there now. And the state of California is thinking of making it a state monument. So some contactees established their own publishing concern, and one initiated a political party in California. So before Omnec Onec hooked up with Anya Schaefer in Germany, she had published her book in 1991 with the help of Wendell Stevens, UFO from Venus I Came. That was published in Arizona. And then Gabriel Green, the president of the Amalgamated Flying Saucer Clubs of America, headquartered in Yucca Valley, California, ran for president in 1960, but when John F. Kennedy entered the race, he threw his support behind him. But Gabriel Green was in contact with beings from the Alpha Proxima Centauri star system, which is the closest, it's a triple star system, the closest star system to our own solar system. It's 4.3 light years away on average. So Omnec Onec speaks. As our galactic friends often tell us, humanoid ETs are already living here among us. They're here for all kinds of reasons. Some are allies in the Galactic Federation and actively working for change on this planet. Others do research, and yet others are here just for the experience. So this is this is a picture here of Omnec Onec. It's one of my favorite pictures. She was born and raised on Venus. Venus is often referred to as our sister planet in this solar system. The planet is very interesting for us because long ago their society went through the same process as Earth is doing right now, called ascension. They now live in the fifth dimension. Then we look at the planet Venus in theosophy. Helena Blavatsky, who is the co-founder of the Theosophical Society in the late 19th century, said the system of Venus has a very close connection with our Earth. In The Secret Doctrine, she referred to the relationship of Venus and the Earth in esoteric science as twin sisters. But the spirit of the Earth is subservient to the Lord of Venus. She continues, Venus is the most occult, powerful, and mysterious of all the planets, the one whose influence upon and relation to the Earth is most prominent. So when we talk about Venus being occult, it's not something that's dangerous or subversive. The word occult just comes from the Latin occultar, which mean, or occultarse, to remain hidden. Something that remains largely hidden or unknown. It's also taught that Venus is the guardian spirit of the earth and men, and that according to the occult doctrine, this planet Venus is our Earth's primary and its spiritual prototype. In other words, everything we've done, they've done that already. So we have a lot to learn for them. We are told that every change that takes place on Venus is felt on and reflected by the Earth. The planet Venus, adds Blavatsky, is the light bearer of our Earth in both its physical and mystic sense. Venus is the bright and morning star, which is an appellation applied to both Lucifer and Christ in the Bible. This finds agreement in the doctrines espoused by Annalise Guerin and the founders of the Mormon Church, who all postulate that Jesus and Lucifer had at one time were both princes on Venus before Lucifer initiated a war in the heavens and was cast out. The pre-UFO era. Though not linked to flying saucers or odd aerial lights, it is perhaps worth noting that there is a long history of claims of contact with non-earthly intelligences. The founding revelations of many of the world's religion involve contact between their founder and a supernatural source of wisdom, such as a god or angel, perhaps in a human form. Growing up as a Latter-day Saint, Annalise Guerin later added significant illumination to our place and destiny in the universe before she was bodily translated into the heavens. So this is Anna Lee at the left as a young girl growing up in American Falls, Idaho. She was born in 1899, and her boyhood friend Clayton Parker was my teacher, and I explain all the connections of Annalise Guerin with Venus and UFOs in my book, Venus Rising: A Concise History of the Second Planet. Calling all angels. This is a definition from the Greek of angelos is a supernatural being or spirit, usually humanoid in form, found in various religions and mythologies. The theological study of angels is known as angelology. In Zoroastrianism and Abrahamic religions, they are often depicted as benevolent celestial beings who act as intermediaries between heaven and earth, or as guardian spirits or a guiding influence. These are the same roles ascribed to UFO occupants by the contactees. And it's interesting to note that that Billy Graham frequently said that we shouldn't be surprised if we find out that angels are arriving on Earth in flying saucers. And he wrote about the UFO connection in his book, Angels, God's Secret Agents, published in 1975 on page 21. Yeah, this is some information about Annalise Guerin and some of the books that she wrote. Ye are gods, to God the glory, Temple of God, Secrets of Eternity, Celestial Song of Creation, Man Triumphant, Beyond Mortal Boundaries, the Book of Book, and the Sons of God. Anna Lee went into heaven through the front door. She was bodily translated there, just like Enoch or the Apostle John or many others in the Bible. And most of us have to go into heaven through the back door, just the traditional way. So when she appeared to our group in at Mount Shasta in 1987, she identified herself as Lady Ankara. This is a manifestation of Annalise Guerin from the higher realms, from a planet called Balaton in the Sirius star system. So she explained to us about many of the connections of Venus and the Earth with the Sirius system and what we have awaiting for us there. Many cultures of the ancient world equated Sirius as the gateway to the realm of the gods. The Venusians and other galactics have established human colonies in this star sector. It's like a celestial incubator. Worlds are being formed now, even as we speak, being prepared for us when we go into space, so that we'll have a new home in outer space. And as the Bible says, Jesus said, many mansions I have prepared for you. This is an Egyptian text from the Book of the Dead explaining the Stargate connectivity of all inhabited galactic solar systems. Notice the mantid-like entity at the center of the portal controlling the access. So at the very top and in the center, you see a insectoid-like being. These are the beings that are on Balaton and other planets in the galactic confederation that control the access to the Stargates. These are portals that you can instantaneously transport through and go from go from the one destination to another across the vast distances in space. So it explains that there are these tunnels of light called fluoces. The Egyptians called them fluoces, and this is how the ascended masters travel between worlds. So the ministry of angels, let your brotherly love continue. Do not forget hospitality, for through it some unknown to themselves have entertained angels unawares. For most angels, the earth is considered a plush assignment. I like this movie with Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan that came out in 1998, City of Angels, where Nicolas Cage is an angel along with some other angels that decide they like the earth so much they want to stay. They want to stay here, and yeah, I had a clip in there from the movie, but if you can rent it, on Comcast or whatever, and check it out, I think you'll really like it. A cosmic SOS. If ever we needed cosmic intervention, that time is now. The Carpenters have a song, or they did a redo of Klaatu's calling occupants of interplanetary craft, which is really good. It's one of my favorite songs. It was the #1 hit for 9 weeks in 1977. Cosmic bonds of friendship. Following a war in the heavens between reptilians and humanoids about 18 million years ago, our star group of the Milky Way spiral arm was colonized by a root race of humanoid refugees emanating from the galactic core. From information supplied by the contactees, ufologists estimate that there are approximately, I would say, 60 to 80 spacefaring humanoid civilizations in our local star group. Some of these, such as the Venusians, have since advanced to higher dimensions. Okay, different kinds of ships. We have the motherships. These are huge carrier vessels that transport extraterrestrials between star systems. The smaller vehicles are scout craft. These interact in the vicinity of planetary magnetic fields. So you see the scout craft surrounding the mothership appear much larger than they really are because the atmospheric particles are being ionized by this scout ship engaging with the magnetic field with the particles. So they light up like a Christmas tree. It is rare for a mothership to enter a planetary atmosphere, but I had one here caught on film over the New Mexico desert. And since I can't, this connection with the YouTube isn't working, but basically the term mothership has achieved prominence in science fiction and UFO lore, which extend the idea to apply to spaceships serving as the heart of a fleet. The concept of a mothership, almost always spelled as a single word, clearly implies that the other ships in the fleet are dependent upon the mothership for at least some services. Motherships are essentially the sci-fi equivalent to modern flagships. Typically, a mothership will take up station in an area and remain there for long periods while smaller ships sortie to interesting destinations. Sometimes the mothership is large enough to operate alone or is so huge that it contains a fleet in its body. Usually there are 24 scout craft in in the body of a mothership. A variant of the term mothership can be traced to the hundreds of claimed UFO sightings in the U.S. during the summer of 1947, when a woman in Palmdale, California, was quoted by the contemporary press as describing a, quote, mother saucer with a bunch of little saucers playing around it. The term was further popularized in UFO lore through the UFO sightings of George Adamski, who claimed to sometimes see large cigar-shaped Venusian motherships out of which flew smaller-sized flying saucers. So we have in our galactic neighborhood many friendly neighborhood ETs. Here's Palladian Semjazi with stepping off of a beam ship, allegedly meeting with her friend Billy Meyer in Switzerland. And then you have the Umos, who come from a planet some 14 light years distance. And the Umo craft is very interesting because they're frequently seen in Spain, landing in Spain and Latin America. So there's some kind of Latino connection with the Umos, which I'm investigating. Then you have slightly more advanced ETs, a Syrian pilot of an interdimensional craft, and a Venusian Orthon with Adamski as the first ambassador to outer space. Now, this picture on the right was taken at the Skyline Lodge on the 9th of August, 1954. And Adamski was describing how the Venusians look very much like humans do, although some have somewhat more of an androgynous look. Then we have hybrids among us. So recombinant DNA and genetic manipulation allows for the fusion of alien species. Here's a hybrid of a typical Orion gray with a humanoid. And most hybridization results from abductions, although there are hybrids that result from friendly contact, but most from abductions. And they're sometimes associated with appearances of the notorious MIBs, or Men in Black. Our precious Earth. The Earth is a sparkling blue jewel shining brightly from the depths of space. All extraterrestrials and ultradimensional beings envy our good fortune of having such a beautiful world. Let's take good care of our world. And so Jesus himself identified with Venus as being, it's coming from the bright and morning star, Revelations 22:16. Okay, and then this presentation was dedicated to our late friend Mike Lorich and I, who were the co-directors of the group, dedicated this presentation to Edith McCullough of the Cleveland Ufology Project, an angel in her own right. So she helped us with a lot of research and also establishing the first coast-to-coast AM radio Art Bell discussion group there in Northeast Ohio. So yeah, thank you very much. Really appreciate that opportunity to present that program.
Certainly, I know that you have to go. Do you have time for one question?
Oh yes, by all means.
The question I have is this: we're now in 2025. What is the nature of the contactee movement or situation in 2025?
We're getting a flood of information from many sources and many more contactees, and in some ways it's confusing, but it may all be uh, the majority of it could be very well true at the same time. I look back at the analogy of the five blindfolded men that are uh, walking around an elephant, feeling it and trying to describe the creature without seeing it. They all have an apperception that something real is there. And one's grabbing the tail, and one's got the trunk, one's got the tusks, another have the big giant feet, and so forth. So um, they're all getting something right, but the big picture, they haven't seen the big picture, and I don't claim to see the big picture either. The only thing that I worry about is when people lose sight of this, and if they start saying they're the one and only, because recently a poll was taken in 2021 following the Air Force or following the Navy pilots and the congressional hearings on UAP, and a national poll that said 15% of Americans have had experiences in contact with ultra-dimensional or extraterrestrial beings of some kind uh, or another. So 15% of the American population, that would equate to more than 45 million people. So obviously, one person isn't going to be privy to all that information. And after my experience, I didn't immediately come out and start talking about it. It took me a while, and I gradually introduced um, the concept of advanced life on Venus and what was going on into outer space without overwhelming people with it. And because I was hesitant to really talk about it, and knowing how some contactees and even just people who reported UFOs, um, all the trouble that they ran into in their life following a disclosure. And I can understand um, why that there are probably so many that don't want to talk about it, but they've already had a self-disclosure, so they know we're not alone in the universe. So I think our job in as exo politicians, our job is to prepare the world because we're on the verge of becoming a spacefaring civilization. And then they're going to have no choice, our brothers and sisters of other planets, but to find some way to accommodate us. So the ultimate disclosure is coming, if it hasn't been here already through self-disclosure, and that's my take on it. It's important to not dismiss anybody and their claims. You know, as the universe is infinite, that means that in an infinite universe, in an omniverse, without end, without beginning and without end, that means that anything that we could conceive or think, or theoretically, anything we can conceive or think of exists out there somewhere. And I just saw a preview, or I just saw they showed here in Morgantown, West Virginia, they showed uh, an early showing of the new movie, The Fantastic Four. And it begins with the announcement that this is Earth number 828. So, talking about parallel worlds and the omniverse and everything, this is all very real. And so literally anything we can think of exists out there somewhere. So I hope that we can listen to the contactees and and take in what they're saying, especially the message that they're bringing um, from their contacts on the other side or from outer space, because this is the important thing. I can tell you that as far as telepathy goes and things like that, when most people experience telepathy, they receive an image, um, and the interpretation of that image is filtered by their own background, their own understanding, their own um, apperception. And so when this applies to the same thing of seeing things and hearing things um, from a higher plane or from another planet. Um, it's all filtered through our own background and our own uh, understanding. So we have to get used to new ways of thinking, and going back to that quote from Robert Kennedy, or he was quoting Tennyson, I mean the poet, that we don't need to uh, question why things are the way they are, but question why can't they be something better? Why can't they be an improvement? And why can't they be like the paradisical worlds, like Venus and other planets um, that surround us in the heavens? And so that's my take on the contactees today.
Well, thank you very much, and we look forward to your next to your next to your next presentation on wisdom of the ages. So thank you very
Thank you, Albert. Much appreciated.
certainly. Thank you.